Grand Prix. We're really looking forward to it. I feel very happy, I hope you do too, and welcome. 3 sectors as we normally have in every lap, 16 turns, 3.4 miles.
Car as much as they can until the formation lap. So they put the...
They have to have the tyres on and all the men stepping away from the car. Sebastian Vettel on the pole position, alongside him, Jenson Button, then Lewis Hamilton has taken his position. 3 world champions actually in the top 3, 4 in the top 5, Alonso's 5th, Massa's 6th, Al-Jaswari and Di Resta started on the soft tyre for the best grip on the first few corners and the first lap. What that
about the start, and this is going to be interesting to see how long he stays on those
the option tyre, which of course we call the soft tyre. It's got a silver stripe around it, as you can
do a quick recap on why the tyre issue is going to be so interesting in this Grand Prix. Mark's sitting there.
About Michael Schumacher briefly. The last time he won a Grand Prix was 5 years ago at this very...
Pretty efficient, and he will be able to achieve good speeds at the end of the straight, as we see.
All up in the top 10 with competitive cars, David. They're getting their feet well. Result today, Mercedes-Benz, Williams and Ferrari must get eternity. Vettel feels he needs to cover Button straight away, and that's why he's not had a great start. He's moving around like crazy. Button leads the Grand Prix. Hamilton's up the inside. Rosberg's up the inside of Vettel too. Vettel will get a better line, David, in the first few corners. Alonso getting out of shape in the background there.
Very clean. I was expecting maybe someone to be getting their end plate a bit too close in turn 2 into 3, but so far this has been a very clean start to this Grand Prix.
So let's just run through the order then. Button from Hamilton, Vettel, Rosberg 4th, Massa 5th, Alonso's corner.
Defending from Button, and then obviously Hamilton placed his car on the inside. And there's halfway down this 1.2 kilometre straight. So there you go, all the wings are still closed at this point. Next lap round, if you can be within 1 second of the car in front, you're going to get a massive slipstream.
And talking of slip, the gap is 1.1 seconds only. It's measured at turn 12, and then as you were saying, David, sometime later that day you're allowed to use it down the back straight. And here's a replay of the start.
Well, the initial getaway actually was a little bit tardy there from Vettel, and you see he was sighting where Lewis Hamilton was. He'd already given up the fight on Jenson Button, and then that's just about as aggressive as you're going to be allowed to do into that first corner, and he gets pushed wide, and then he'll sense that Rosberg was there, even if he wasn't seeing
it. Switched on immediately. I quite like these slow-mos, but that then is Kobayashi and Al-Jaswari, and we're looking with another replay here. There's a jump start for car 23 under investigation, which is Liuzzi, who's now dropped back to 23rd place. But so that's going to be very interesting if we can get the top 3 lined up. It's going to look a little bit like this squabble going on here.
Well, I think this is going to be very interesting. We've got Kobayashi, who seems to be like a natural-born racer, right up behind Michael Schumacher, who's a natural-born defender. We've seen some pretty aggressive defending moves.
The cut of those fresh tyres, isn't he?
Well, that's right. But typically what happens in these teams is he who qualifies higher gets first call on the pit stop. And in this situation, I would be very surprised if McLaren allowed Lewis to pit before Jenson, because effectively that leaves Jenson exposed.
Well, that's actually... I mean, eternity turns 1 and 2 when you're driving through there in the race. So turn 3 it is then, and we're watching Nick Heidfeld in 14th place, watching the fight between the 2 Toro Rossos of Al-Jaswari and Boemi, and let's have an update from Ted.
Mark's lost the place.
I tell you what that is, that's Mark Webber about to lose 15th place, let alone come through the field. But if Perez can stay around the outside there, I'll be impressed. Unfortunately, we're looking at the wrong cars, and Perez did it. He got through and passed Mark Webber, and Webber now got Barrichello on his tail. The Kovalainen's behind him next, but I didn't think that right rear was on properly when it left the pit garage. What sort of mess will he make of the underneath that? It should be all right. Shouldn't he get it back to the pits? 3 wheels on his wagon.
He'll be running on the wooden planks, and that won't do too much damage, apart from the fact he's going to add about 2.5 minutes to his Grand Prix.
Hamilton, Sebastian Vettel, and there's the fight I was just telling you about. Nico Rosberg, Felipe Massa, who is driving better, isn't he? There's no doubt about it. Massa's beginning to get his act together, and he's certainly a match for Alonso at the moment. So that is the fight for 4th, 5th driver tracker we have up here in the commentary box, which they also have on the pit wall, as we're watching Perez then driving clean around the outside with that extra speed down the straight. As long as he can get it, throw the anchor out and get it stopped for the hairpin, which he does nicely. So Perez takes P12 from Buemi as Nico Rosberg. As we watch Nico Rosberg then passing Heidfeld. Heidfeld hasn't stopped yet, Rosberg has. And that is for 9th place. That was a replay, of course. So there's Vettel then. And Hamilton's struggling for rear grip as well now. So Vettel, then we saw how good his car was in qualifying. Red Bull still have got the raw pace.
And crucially, Sebastian Vettel gets away first. That was a terrible mistake there by Jenson Button.
How did he do that? It's all dressed in blue. Button stopped at the wrong pit lane. That's something I did in my very first test for Tyrrell when I got it a scenario. He can't use them, can he, if he's tucked up behind the Ferrari? What happened to Lewis Hamilton at the end of that in-lap? And look, this is important. Vettel then has got ahead of Heidfeld. Button follows him, and they are both ahead of now a very competitive Felipe Massa. So, oh no, he's miles behind. Schumacher's got him, look. Michael Schumacher, who has pitted, that's worked beautifully for him. Absolutely beautifully. So where's Nico Rosberg as well? That's an interesting one. Rosberg, Hamilton, Heidfeld, and look at this, Michael Schumacher ahead of Fernando Alonso. So by pitting early, and Michael Schumacher came in on lap as early as lap 10, and that's the undercut we keep talking about. But Mercedes just went and got on with it, and it's worked out beautifully.
Lap 14, and Michael Schumacher was in lap 12, as you said a little earlier. Then they come in again on lap 30, and then again on lap 45, whereas Lewis Hamilton and Sebastian Vettel and Jenson Button came in around the sort of lap 17. Well, Vettel was 17, wasn't he? With that mix-up with Jenson Button.
Enough on the exit that drivers will have a go. You've got to allow them to get into that position, and then we'll see who's got the best car on the brakes, who's the bravest, and they can fight it out on the exit.
Jenson's surely going to be as red as his new overalls for this weekend at that pit stop faux pas.
Yes, there's it's not even like they have the same as cooling. It doesn't seem to be. That'll probably have very little effect on the aerodynamics of the car because it's the front wing which is doing most of that, but they're cooling his feet somewhat.
As you say, it's a lovely fresh air feeling, isn't it, when you take a bit off the nose like that and you've got 200-mile-an-hour breeze coming through there. So Mark Webber then at the moment has got as far as only covered by 8 seconds. So the curves goes on, and then down here a little bit further. I mean, Michael's got the fastest car in the race down the straight line. You can feel the car pick up speed as the wing opens. Schumacher knows it's going to happen, so it goes to a good drive out of the turn 14 hairpin. And is this just one of those moody, lovely slow-mos, or are we going to actually... No, we're not. We're meant to just enjoy that bit. Back to the racing. We're on lap 25. Vettel's got the gap down to just 3. That's worked out quite nicely for him in that respect. And Vettel has not responded, so it does seem as if they think they've got less tyre wear and they can go a little bit further. Michael Schumacher pits now for the Mercedes-Benz team as we watch Lewis Hamilton onto the pit straight. You don't know where to look next now. There's so much going on. 3 stopping, working beautifully for Mercedes-Benz at the moment. What will Vettel do? Vettel's now into the 1 minute 43s, David.
It's a problem. He's got a problem, is it? Sorry, I thought it was...
Okay, Sebastian, I cannot hear you. I cannot hear you.
Well, that was the problem. I knew he could hear him. Sorry, I got...
Clearing Rosberg and the McLarens, who are on 3 stops. His fight then is with Massa, who also looks like he's doing 2 stops.
Well, I think Ferrari may have to change that. We just saw Hamilton drive clean past Alonso, and that, of course, was Michael Schumacher taking 12 from Nick Heidfeld that we went on board with for the replay. So Schumacher won. Vettel lost half a second to Massa in the first sector, another 0.2 in the middle sector. Massa's closing Vettel down, and they've only done 1 stop each. Vettel pits, Massa doesn't, I believe. He's gone round, so they're putting hard tyres on Vettel. So
a bit of action here. Mark Webber saying to Michael Schumacher, I'm here.
Yeah, Webber on Schumacher.
I'm not sure you'd want to warn Michael that you're there. I think I'd want to just surprise him.
So Alonso had to pit. He was going so slowly, he just had no grip. The front jackman there, don't know who tripped over who there, but
as they join the circuit, otherwise they get a penalty. And the battle continues here. Webber once again on the entry to turn 7. Backs out of it a lot earlier, but this is costing Mark a great deal of time because the Renault is, the Lotus Renault in front of the Red Bull Renault is significantly faster on the straight.
So at that pace, it's not enough, is it? The 3-stopper will work as Hamilton shapes up for a look at Button. Oh, I talked about the ferocious battle for dominance and supremacy within the McLaren team, and here we are moving into lap 35, lap 36 now, and that's exactly ahead of Alonso. Alonso's done a 1:42.3, the leaders are doing 1:41, so Alonso losing a second a lap. Petrov going for a two-stop strategy this afternoon. It remains to be seen just how many are going for three stoppers.
Well, we know
Petrov
that
under pressure.
He'll spend the next few corners positioning himself to the DRS activation point on the exit of turn 11. Get too far back there as he enters turn 7, 150 miles an hour apex, slightly quicker through 8, that's 170 miles an hour, and then into the double left-hander 9 and 10.
Alonso's rear wing, it comes up momentarily behind Michael Schumacher, and that's not allowed. So it seems as if he's got a problem with that rear wing, but that is out of position of where it should be. Now
this is going to be in great defensive positioning there from Nico Rosberg.
Now Lewis will get the rear wing activation down the back straight, because he will clearly be within 1 second of Rosberg as they go into the zone where it's checked out, which is now just through the exit actually of this corner. But we know the Mercedes have tuned it. What do they say? They call it in Malaysia last weekend, they fall off the cliff.
So Nico, fuel is critical.
Right, Martin.
You were right earlier on about
that explains
fuel saving.
why they were lifting out of the throttle. So for whatever reason, and we should just explain to the viewers that the teams have to make a decision on how much they fuel the car.
Hamilton. Maldonado is at the back out of position.
He pulls over and brakes, and then Lewis is like, oh, he is letting me through.
I think Lewis had kind of given up on that one, didn't he? And all of a sudden there's like this big, bright, fresh air sort of area moved in front of him, and he took it. He probably had to get back off the brakes, I wouldn't be surprised. Webber's just done himself a 1 minute 38.9, just the full 3 seconds of La Massa.
And Lewis, the best time to attack the guys ahead of you could be towards the end of the race. We still have 13 laps to go. Their tyres will be very old by the end of the race.
And that basically is telling Lewis that you're third at the moment, looking at the back of second place man, but their tyres are going to go. So Button has passed Rosberg, hasn't he, in there? Rosberg was the next one up to look at the back of Felipe Massa, so we haven't seen that on screen. Button's passed Rosberg. McLaren absolutely flying in terms of grip and speed at the moment. So we're into lap 46. Dropped out in the first part of qualifying. He's coming at this lot at 3 seconds per lap. Yellow flags out there somewhere. What's that all about? We'll have a look and see if we can see what that action is. And it's Vettel who's obviously got together with Perez. Perez is already going to have an investigation after the race. And
I think we are going to see a great battle between these two. Lewis Hamilton, he knows with, what have we got, 7 laps to go in this Grand Prix, he has a real chance of victory.
Well, he does, doesn't he? You'd have to put your money on him right now. Look, he's already closing in on for the lead. And Vettel has to go defensive. Hamilton had the wing open, which he was allowed to do. Hamilton will get tremendous drive off the hairpin. Vettel's up the inside, though. He's got the inside line for the final corner. And he just leaves Hamilton enough space, but no more. And Hamilton then slow on the throttle out of the corner. Nessa faster than me. I'll slow us both down. But they didn't. Yes, they're only now 6 seconds clear of Button. If these pairs squabble too much longer, Button will be with them well. Massa now just 2.3 seconds. Webber's past Massa. Webber's up to 5th. Felipe Massa down to 6th. Right rear wheel having fallen off just after a pit stop, and Webber's not that far behind Button. If he can clear Nico Rosberg pretty quickly, and he should be in quite good condition. But again, Rosberg's got the KERS, whether Webber's not using it according to the data that's coming through to the TV station, and so they're beginning to drop Rosberg, 5th place man. Let's see what Jensen says.
Okay, Jensen, Webber is close behind. He is going to attack you. He is on fresher tyres. Beware of Webber.
He's on fresher, softer tyres. And let me just remind you then, so Mark Webber pitted on lap 40, Button pitted on lap 37, so by 5 seconds. Mark Webber just 3.4 behind his teammate now. How close will he get to him on the last lap? So Mark Webber then, a sensational performance in the closing stages of this Grand Prix. Let's just have a quick run through. Hamilton from Vettel, Webber, Button 4th, Rosberg 5th.